So welcome to the next part of the overview series for the map tool. And in the last video we covered the fill layer types, and now we go on with our next layer type. And I would probably just go on in alphabetical order. So the next layer we cover is the asset layer. This is a very important layer because it lets you place I would say almost all important features you got in your games. So what an asset is in this use case, it's like a small image, like a PNG file of anything you want, and you can place it. So if you open the asset layer, you can see on the left side in your tool option panel that you got a lot of options here. The first thing you notice maybe that if you click anywhere on the map, nothing happens, and that is because there is no asset selected, because in this case we don't have any assets available. So we can also click on Manager to open the Asset Manager, and just like I showed you with the textures, you can in the Asset Manager load in different assets. And for example, I will just like import 3 different like buildings. And also you can see after selecting certain images, it also asks you to define a game. So we call this tactical, and a category, we call it buildings. And now each of these assets, as you can see, they have a name that's like just the file name and your category and your game. And now you see that the assets appear in the list, and if you expand the list, you can like have a better overview if you have a lot of assets. And now, before explaining too much, we simply select one asset, and if we click on the map, you see that the asset gets placed on the map. Now, as you may see, it's probably a little bit too big for the hexes. So what we can do is we go to the scale, just turn down the scale, and then we can place it in different scales. What you also can do, if you hold the control button and drag the left mouse button, you can change the scale on the fly. And if you hold the Alt button and turn the mouse, you can change the rotation. But you also can, of course, like manually change the rotation down here, or you can do different random things, but more of that soon. We just keep with the placement options now. So you now with every click you place one asset. What you can do if you hit randomize and select multiple assets, then every click places one random asset of your selected assets. It's like maybe with buildings has not that much sense, but for example, if you got different tree types or something like that, you can just randomize which asset you take. And this gets more interesting if you also randomize your rotation and randomize your size. If you randomize your size, you can set a minimum and a maximum size, and then it will choose a random value between these two. So now we randomized the asset, the rotation, and the size. And as you can see now, with each click, we place another asset in another size in another rotation. So let's turn it off again. Probably you noticed that right now we're placing them like always in the center of a hex, and it always snaps to the hex. So we got no way of placing it differently. That's because the snap to hex checkbox is enabled. So if we disable this, you can see that you can place the assets manually exactly where you want to place them. Let's turn off the randomizer again. And as you see, you can just manually place the assets now wherever you want. And also if you hit rasterize, what you can do now, if you zoom in a little bit, you can see that there are lines in the hex. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe it's a little bit not enough contrast. But what it does now, if we rasterize in the edge mode, it creates lines between the edges on the opposing sides going through the center, and now you can place your assets directly on these lines. You also can turn on corner mode. Now the lines go between the corners. Or you can also set in a fixed distance, and now you can place your assets at a fixed distance from the center at certain positions in the hex. And this may be helpful, for example, also for more administrative things, if you got like small icons or symbols that you want to place inside hexes on the same places. You can use this tool to set up your exact location inside the hex, and then you can just quickly place assets in your hexes at the exact same locations. Also, back to the snap to hex mode, you can also use a high radius, so you can place a lot of assets in a certain radius. And of course, you can also combine this with the random tools. So like here you see, you place the same asset in different sizes and different rotations in a certain radius. Also, this may be helpful for like trees, forests, and so on. So we covered scale, rotation, and placement. What you also can do, you can enable shadows, and the shadow layer, as you may see, it is global for your whole layer. So you cannot make an individual shadow for each asset. You can change here the rotation, maybe the distance, so we can see the rotation better, the spread, and the size of it. And as mentioned, it is global for the whole layer. So if you want different shadows for different assets, you have to create several asset layers, each with individual shadows. So there are more things. If you want to change an asset after placing it, you can select the asset again if you go in the select mode. Now a left click does place no object, but you can click on an already placed asset. You can drag it to another position. If you activate snap to hex, it doesn't change in the select mode. And you can also change the size of it by clicking the handles in the corners, or you can change the rotation. So if you want to correct a placed asset, you can do it in the select mode. And the last thing you can do is the erase mode. And in the erase mode, you can erase parts of an asset. Maybe with buildings, it's not that not that important, but maybe you have seen my map making video. It can be important if you have like assets that are not allowed to overlap with other map features, so you can delete parts of this asset. And of course, you also can change the size of your eraser to make it like little small or bigger. And the last feature with the asset layer, what you can do is the so-called auto text. So if you make like more operational maps where you, for example, have to name cities or whatever, I will showcase what I mean. So for example, if you got like icons for marking cities, and you want to name them with a text, you always have to switch to a text layer. So despite not having covered text layers, we just create one here for showcase purposes. And what you can do now is if you select auto text and select the text layer that we just created, you can with one click instantly name your, give it a text. So maybe that's a little bit too far. So you can quickly add text without having to change into a text layer first and then changing back into your assets layer. So that's just like a tool for a quicker workflow. And also if you go into the text layer later and choose the select mode here, you can of course correct your texts that you placed here. So it's just like a tool for providing a bigger or a better and faster workflow. Yeah, and these are the things you can do with the asset layer.